First of all, thank you for the forum. Thank you, Governor, for having me. And I also want to give my best to the senior Chinese intel official who's probably listening to us right now. Hope they've enjoyed all of the presentations. I was given a very similar assignment as the professor. In 3 minutes, talk about how we avoid armed conflict in the South China Sea. I'm at the Kennedy School right now as a fellow, but before that, I was the head of public affairs at the Pentagon under both Secretary Hagel and the first 6 months of Secretary Carter's tenure. As you all know, the #1 qualification a public affairs person has is that you get to sit in a lot of meetings with a lot of smart people. These conclusions are based on those wonderful experiences. I'll keep it very, very short. I think 2 things we have to keep in mind. Bonnie hit on one of these earlier. First of all, you have to remember this is crucial for U.S. economic interest. Those of you that have been to the Straits of Malacca and seen this flow and transit of goods understand that what we're talking about is a strategic situation with economic impacts. And so that's something that matters to people here at home in a way they may not realize, but is very real if we get this wrong. And second, we just need to remember that when it comes to China, we're playing the long game, right? This is the 30, 40-year problem, and that has to influence our thinking. So a lot of what we've talked about today is how do we deal with this right now, but a lot of what I'm going to talk about is how do we deal with China writ large. But this is a symptom of the types of problems that we're going to have. 4 quick things, 3 that will resonate as things we've talked about today, 1 a little bit outside the box. The first thing we need to do is make sure we have clear lines of communication. That's at every single level. Professor talked about a lot of those. Tactically, we need to be making sure we have codes of conduct for the intersection of ships and planes. We don't have accidents and unintended incidents. That's happening. We're working on that. I think we're making some progress. If we stick to them is another thing, but we're starting to put them in place. Second, moving up the tree a little bit, mill-to-mill relations. I think we've made progress under that. It was a real area of focus for both Secretary Panetta and Secretary Hagel. And again, that's very important over the long run because that mill-to-mill, especially the uniform-to-uniform relationships, can become a safety valve and also a conduit for trusted diplomacy when traditional diplomacy is being gummed up by public discourse and some of the rhetoric that political figures in both countries may be using. And then finally, we're going to have this conversation in public at a political level. And I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we do that in a way that shines a light on what China is doing. We saw Jim Sciutto's piece about his P-8 flight that garnered quite a bit of attention. I think the most interesting thing to remember about that is that was a regular P-8 flight that we flew every single day. And the Chinese only got angry once it became public that we were doing that. And we were not public about the fact we were doing it. It's just that footage was on TV every day. So that public discourse and transparency from our side, even if they aren't transparent, is important. Number 2, long-term military spending and planning. We have wolves closer to the door right now in terms of the Middle East and what's going on with Putin, but we can't lose sight of the requirements that we have to make sure we are investing in this part of the world. A lot of what the president's talked about with the rebalance. We have to stick to that. That includes making sure that we are addressing not just these examples of a Chinese military that is looking outward more and more. That includes the U.S. Navy and their investment in aircraft carriers. That includes increased UN participation and peacekeeping by the Chinese. They're showing they're going to push out, and we need to make sure that we have the capabilities in 20, 30, 40 years to deal with that. That means making investments now. And on a side, quick editorial note, during the debate last week, all of the candidates got my least favorite debate question, which is, what is the #1 geopolitical threat to the United States right now? If I did have to give a one-sentence answer, it's sequestration. It's the thing that puts not just this strategy or our attempts to develop a strategy in this area at risk, it puts all of our security at risk. So if we don't do something about sequestration, China and other problems around the world are just going to get harder. And then the third thing that we've talked about consistently is increasing partnerships in the region. So we need to take advantage of the fact that Chinese actions are driving people in our direction. We saw this last spring at the Shangri-La Security Dialogue, which happened right after that CNN report and right after pictures were released showing howitzers on some of these islands. There was a very different tone with a lot of our partners, both traditional and non-traditional partners in the region. So Australia, Japan, South Korea, but also Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines. The fourth one, and then I'll wrap up, is we need to figure out cyber, because we always assume the ignition point for a conflict with China is going to be in the South China Sea. The ignition point can be in the cyber realm, and then the escalation can be in the South China Sea, a place where we are about to have a lot of ships and planes flying around in very close contact. So we need to look at the entire China problem, especially the Wild West of the China problem, which is the cyberspace. Get our arms around that quickly, so this doesn't become where bad gets worse, not just where bad starts. So, wow, was that pretty good? Yes. 3 minutes? Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thank you all.